Good morning, Robert. Can you hear us?
Morning, Chair. I can.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Barrie Police Services Board for March 20th, 2025. I would like to call the meeting to order and begin with our land acknowledgement. In keeping with Indigenous protocol and building respectful relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada, it is customary to acknowledge the traditional territories and ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples. We would like to acknowledge this sacred land on which the Barrie Simcoe Emergency Service Campus operates. It has been the site for human activity for 15,000 years. This land is the ancestral land of the Wendat and Anishinaabe Nation. The treaty that was signed for this particular parcel of land is collectively referred to as the Williams Treaty. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture. We also recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this land and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Miigwech, thank you. Our agenda was distributed in advance. A motion to approve today's agenda. Mr. Khan, any amendments, changes, or adjustments to the agenda? I should acknowledge that Deputy Mayor Thompson, Vice Chair Thompson is with us virtually, and Mayor Null will be joining us shortly. Motion, did I ask for the actual approval of those? Approval of the minutes? Thank you. Any declarations of conflict of interest by members with respect to today's agenda? Seeing none, also distributed in advance this morning were our minutes of our February 20th, 2025 public meeting. A motion to approve those minutes. Strong. Any questions, comments, or amendments to those minutes? Seeing none, those in favor? Thank you. There are six items in today's consent agenda. Freedom of information, collection and identifying information in certain circumstances, military leave, auxiliary and special constable appointments and terminations, human resources report, and public complaints. Would any member have any questions or like any of those items pulled from the consent this morning? Seeing none, then a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you. Mr. Don. Moving on then for approval, Chief. First thing is the budget variance for the year ended 2024, and I see Mr. Turner's here to join us. Any introductory comments?
No, Chair. I'll hand it directly over to our finance manager just for updating the board. Ralph.
Good morning. So looking at the 2024 year-end budget variance report, you'll see that we closed the year with a deficit of approximately 131,000. We recognize this is a deviation from the surplus we projected at Q3, but represents about 0.2% of our net budget. And I can take a few minutes and kind of just walk through some of the key variances that contribute to that net deficit. So if I start with salaries and benefits, this is the area where we have most of our overages. If I start with looking at full-time salaries and benefits, our deficit was a total of about 918,000. We were expecting a deficit in this area from the impacts of the collective agreement in that first year. We had forecasted the deficit to be about 786,000. So it is in line with that kind of original projection. We also have overages in our casual part-time salaries, representing about 797,000. Some of that is offset with funding from the reserve for the planned downtown initiative in the summer of 2024. That funding was about 270,000 that would net against that. And then just some overages in some of our other units that are experiencing higher demand. For overtime, we did finish the year with an overage of 897,000. That was in line with what we were projecting and projected for Q3. It's definitely an area that we're focusing on and an area that we have at least partially accounted for in our 2025 budget. This budget has remained static for several years. And historical activity has always been above that level with major events and shift supplement requirements, but definitely an area that we're keeping close eye on. As for the operating expenses, we did finish in a surplus position. The majority of that is driven in software and maintenance, and that really comes back to our ability to share some of our technology costs through various grants. And we completed the year with a surplus of just over 500,000 in software maintenance. We also have a surplus in building insurance. Those are chargebacks from the city of Barrie. And then we have an overage in our legal fees, which have been kind of above historical levels. And then finally, I would just point to vehicle and gasoline. We have a surplus of about 82,000 from the work that's been done on replacing vehicles, moving to hybrid electric vehicles. For grants, that was a strong driver of a surplus again for us in 2024. We had known about that early in 2024, so our year-end result was in line with our forecasted projection. We did end up with a surplus of just over $1 million in grants in totality. And those really are being driven by kind of our three big ones for 2024. So that's the bail compliance, the preventing auto theft, and the NG 911 grant. We're not expecting to have that same level of surplus for 2025, again, unless there's a new grant that we had. Finally, for user fees and reserves. So our user fees have remained strong in 2024. We did realize surpluses in sale of vehicles, interest revenue, criminal record checks, and paid duties, and those contribute to our overall surplus as well. So with those ups and downs, we land at the deficit of 131,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any questions for Mr. Turner or the chief with respect to this year's stuff?
Thank you, Chair, and perhaps to the chief. Start there, maybe. We've, as a board and as a service, we've been doing a lot of work in bringing up the number of police officers that we have to be at the targeted level of our sworn complement. And I'm just curious how the efforts that we're undertaking in terms of new recruits and new officers is impacting the budget and specifically around managing and costs.
Thank you for the question. So certainly in theory, a full staffing complement should reduce the need for overtime with a static and structured deployment model. The challenge we face in policing, obviously, and I think board does recognize when we have emergency incident or specific incidents that requires an increased number of officers, that would impact overtime, as well as specific incidents on the road where the investigating officer is required to maintain a carriage of a particular investigation or a number of officers to do so. But we regularly review the overtime usage, and it is restrictive insofar as it's not. There is no allowance of just extra time for people to put in. So, but that is continually reviewed. In theory, we should see this drop, and that is our hope, without any external emergency circumstances requiring extra police personnel. That answers the question.
Thank you, Chair. And actually, a very similar question, slightly different. With the more recent deployment and engagement of special constables, I was curious if you have some understanding yet, or if it's too soon to see that impact as to not just overtime, but deployment of resources as it impacts the budget.
So it is very early days for that. That is being monitored, and for transparency, the intent of those special constables never to replace a police officer, and we recognize that for the organization's purposes, but certainly to enhance our response to both visibility and presence. So, but we will monitor that and respond and return information to the board as we become more aware. Ideally, we don't control all the circumstances. There'll be a greater level of proactivity by our police officers on the road because there's an availability as opposed to being tasked with calls. And again, in a perfect world, but in a world where the resources meet demand, there should be a reduction with full staffing, enhanced staffing in certain areas. So we would like to see that. I just don't want to be tied to that. And I appreciate that if things are out of our control, they are out of our control. We are still a reactive organization to emergencies and large investigations.
Sure. Sorry, follow up real quick, Chair, for clarification. Absolutely, I agree with your position there and appreciate it. I was speaking more with regard to the points in the comments regarding prisoner transport and court costs, etc. I know that the service had been having some ongoing dialogue regarding the funding associated with court and I believe that's where special constables would also be a part.
Thank you. Yes. So we are lucky to have the courthouse in our jurisdiction and are thus tasked with the costs. And that is the nature of the beast of a larger city. We still operate that at a loss, and we recognize that. And that is a cost borne by the city of Barrie simply because of geography. While we did see an increase in that grant, it still didn't meet the total costs that are required for that. And just to add on to that, and that was just thankfully reminded me, there is also legislative training that is required too, that may impact costs at times too. With the new Community Safety and Policing Act, there is enhanced training that is required by all police officers as well as special constables. That has to be fit in to scheduling, and that sometimes does have a bearing on overtime as well.
Chief, not to be harping on one line item in terms of overtime, obviously there's the financial impact, but part of my concern is the impact it has on the wellness. Anytime any organization has overtime, that means people are working. They're not supposed to be working. So do we track, like specific question, do we track the overtime with respect to what's caused by a major event or by a shift supplement? Because they're two separate things. And also I think discussions and knowledge I have, the complexity of our investigations continues to increase, which I think results in overtime. Just to comment on that. A, do we track it? B, are my theories behind why we're having it accurate?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we do track it and the source of that. So we do track if it's a shift supplement or if it's an overtime related to a major event. And certainly we're alive to the board's regular concern for the wellness of the officers, and we do recognize that. Um, so yeah, we do track it specific to incidents, but certainly we can report back to the board for a more granular breakdown if you'd like to see that. And with respect to the complexity of the investigations, we were a country of laws, and certainly with the advent and inclusion of new technologies in policing, we can appreciate there is a greater work put on police officers with respect to body worn cameras and case law that's in effect with timelines to be met. So we are figuratively under the gun to use our work in a shorter period of time for those cases to progress. So it's time compressed, but requiring that extra time to be put in.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so there is a hope that that number will go down for a number of reasons, financially, wellness. I think, as Mr. Ron has mentioned, it's been a priority of this board to increase our complement in an effort to bring the number down, but as I say, more importantly, the hours down from our staff. Any further questions, Mr. Khan? I think you're next with respect to the budget variance.
Thank you, Chair. It's appropriate now. I have actually a little bit board a request of the chief for the report.
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. So through you, Chair, to you, Chief, as well, to Mr. Turner. Just with regard to, obviously, you can't ignore any of the news right now regarding tariffs and the impact that those may be having. I know that our service is not immune to manufacturing and other supplier costs with regard to our neighbors to the south regarding whether it's body worn cameras, equipment, vehicles, et cetera. So if there's an opportunity for the service to provide the board perhaps in the next month meeting an update on what potential impact we might see with regard to current and future planned contracts.
Certainly, and that can be produced. I can advise the board that where we've been able to, we have front-ended as much as possible to equipment and purchasing as early as possible, recognizing the incoming storm.
Thank you. I guess I should have asked for the motion to approve 130,840 be allocated from the operating reserve to cover the current year deficit before we had the discussion, but I'll ask for the motion after we've had the discussion. Is there any further questions or comments with respect to the motion? Seeing none, those in favor? Thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Khan, to update the board and a motion to approve the Barrie Police Service bylaw number 14 anti-racism plan. I guess I should ask for the motion first.
So thank you, Chair. I will put the motion on the floor. And the motion is that we approve the following bylaw. It says, whereas furtherance to the Community Safety and Policing Act provides that a police service board shall establish its own rules and procedures in performing its duties under the Community Safety Policing Act. In this one in particular, with regard to anti-racism, Chair and members of the board attendance. This is a continuing, we'll call it an exercise, but an obligation, responsibility of all boards across Ontario to update our policies in alignment with the Community Safety Policing Act. This one in particular just seeks to ensure, and it is our obligation to ensure that literally throughout all the ranks within the service as well as the board, that the service makes every effort to ensure that the hiring policies as well as cultural policies reflect that of the community. So this is really quite straightforward, just to ensure that we continue to observe the makeup of the community and hire and interact and engage as appropriate.
Thank you. Any questions with respect to the new bylaw? Seeing none. Oh, yes, please.
Just quickly, a comment that while this is coming forward to be in conformity with the changes to the act, this is not new to the service. Like, we're not starting this today. This is something that we have prioritized and we have been working on for a number of years, and we've made significant progress in this area. So just, I wanted to clarify that if people are, from the public are watching, that we're not just starting this today.
Excellent point. I should advise, I see Mayor Nuttall has joined the meeting. I'm not sure how long, Mr. Mayor, you've been on there, but Mayor Nuttall has joined the meeting. Any other
I
questions?
voted,
on the motion?
sorry, Mr. Chair. I voted in favor of the last motion, and I've been here for the whole of this.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Yes, I just noticed on the board that you were present, so minutes will so reflect. Any further questions on the bylaw motion? Those in favor? Thank you. Chief Johnson, I'll hand it over to you, sir, for your monthly update to the board. Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the board for allowing me to highlight a few of the events and initiatives that have occurred since our last board meeting. On February 22nd, members of our service participated in the coldest night of the year walk in support of Youth Haven, a great cause and service in our community we're happy to support. On March 4th, the Barrie Police welcomed an amazing group of young adults from Discovering Abilities Development in Richmond. After meeting with Constable Kelvin He, they met our newest K9 unit member, Poppy, who is still in training with Constable Lamont of our K9 unit. On March 6th, members of the Barrie Police Service visited the Canadian Blood Services on Bayview Drive to donate blood as part of our Partners for Life campaign. On Sunday, March 16th, I joined our new Community Safety and Wellbeing Officer, Constable Jackie Parkin, as well as members of our Citizens on Patrol and auxiliary volunteers at the Holy celebrations hosted by the Barrie Indian Association. Holi is a festival of colors and marks the start of spring and the triumph of good over evil. We were thrilled once again to be invited and to be able to join in this colorful celebration. I do note that the one of the board members, as the mayor, was also present. I believe he had a little bit of chalk on him as well. In early March, our newest fleet vehicle, a fully EV Chevy Blazer, went operational and will be used by Frontline Patrol. This is one, if not the only, so far, first fully EV frontline police vehicles in Canada. With the launch of this EV, the BPS fleet is now 34% EV or hybrid. March is It Starts month, and the Barrie Police Service was honored to be the It Starts Community Champion for the week of March 3rd to the 9th. It Starts is a public awareness campaign designed to take on a proactive steps towards addressing racism and discrimination in Simcoe County. Barrie Police used our week to highlight the variety of cultural and community events we take part in each year, as well as the diversity in language spoken by members of our service. Presentations. So Barrie Police members were busy participating and sharing research last month. Inspector Gates spoke at the Advancing We in Policing Conference to police service representatives from across the province. This EDI-based organization seeks to improve culture in policing through inclusivity. Inspector Gates was also the keynote later in the month on a webinar hosted by the Coalition for Canadian Police Reform, the national organization seeking a center of police excellence in Canada. In both presentations, Inspector Gates spoke on an initiative she is spearheading nationally, 30 Forward, an evidence-based Canadian initiative mirrored on the 30 by 30 out of the US, seeking to alter policing through encouraging greater female representation in policing and addressing systemic issues that exist. I also had the opportunity to speak on a panel at the Advancing We conference and address a number of fair but pointed questions on police culture and the challenges and opportunities faced in police organizations. Deputy Burke and I had the opportunity to attend the Ontario Police College yesterday in Elmer. We proudly watched 8 Barrie Police Service members march on the parade square in completion of their Ontario Police College basic training. We look forward to having them home and complete their training before they head to frontline operations with their training officers before the summer begins. Number of meetings and partnerships. Police Association of Ontario was attended by members of our Senior Officers Association, our Junior Officers Association. Excellent information, 2 days of wholesome discussions around contracts. The ongoing community safety and well-being community meetings were attended. We also had members attend the Canadian Police Knowledge Network meeting down in Toronto. There was a podcast on Barrie 360 with respect to our CCTV program. We're working with the city as well as the CCTV open house here that was attended by about a dozen people with a number of questions for the organization with respect to accessing the city traffic cams. Investigation highlights. On March 5th, just after 10 p.m., Barrie police officers responded to a report of a robbery on Collier Street, east of Clapperton Street, involving a male who was believed to be armed with a knife. Police were quickly on scene, and within 8 minutes of the call being received, a 33-year-old male from Barrie was apprehended without incident. Upon his arrest, no weapon was located. A reminder to our community that the Barrie Police Service conducts ride spot checks year-round. Ride check on March 9th resulted in 3 drivers having their driver's license suspended for 3 days, registering a warrant on an approved screening device. 1 driver was issued a provincial offense notice for driving a motor vehicle with an open container of liquor. 2 drivers were arrested and charged with operation while impaired, blood alcohol concentration over 80 milligrams, which resulted in their driver's license being suspended for 90 days and their motor vehicles being impounded for 7 days. 1 driver was arrested and charged with refusal to provide a breath sample. His motor vehicle was impounded for 7 days, and his driver's license was also suspended for 90 days. On March 13th, 2 Dodge Ram pickups were reported stolen from their southwest Barrie driveways while the owners were asleep. Video surveillance on one of the thefts appears to have been disabled. And the second theft was captured on surveillance camera, which showed an unknown male dressed in dark clothing approach the front door and hold up an unknown wired device. A few moments later, the pickup lights flashed and the engine was turned on, and the truck is driven away. You are a resident of Barrie and would like to keep your key fob safe, please attend the Barrie Police Headquarters with a valid identification, and you can receive a free Faraday pouch. We ask you to help us keep our great city safe. Finally, we're hosting another round of our popular Citizens Police Academy. Community members can apply to join and work with Constable Kelvin He on Thursday evenings to learn more about the Barrie Police Service through presentations and demonstrations from various units across the service. On April 8th, members from Barrie Police and Barrie Fire and Emergency Services will take part in the inaugural Crosstown Classic, with all funds raised in support of Hospice Simcoe. Tickets are now on sale. And with that, Chair, I will hand it back to you unless there's any questions.
Questions from the board for Chief and his team. Mr. Khan, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just for a quick clarification, Chief, what is a Faraday pouch one more time? And how much is it?
Thank you for the question. Faraday pouch will encloses a key fob in a protective cover that disables someone from walking up to your door with a device which can mirror your key and allow someone to steal your car, and it is free. We would encourage members of our community. We will give you one. It is free. Please come get one. If you've invested so much of your money into into a vehicle, Let us help you, but help us help you.
Additional questions? I have one comment about the hockey game. I think that's a great idea, raise a few bucks, but I hope we've got some strong referees and the game will be nothing like what we've seen in New York City over the past years between the fire and police chief. So you may need to have some pay duties down there to make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Chair. No, while we recognize our officers have some great skills, they are facing a well-rested and well-fed team, so we're not sure.
That wasn't a leading question, but it came out that way. Any further questions for the chief? Thanks for your update, Chief Johnston. That concludes our open meeting for today. A motion to move in camera in accordance with section 44(1)B and section 44(1)D of the Community Safety and Policing Act. Mr. Khan, assume that motion is approved. Yes, I can see it on the board. Thank you. And just for the public, that we will not be reconvening the opening meeting has concluded today. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.